Hey, people, what time is it? You're right, it's time for G-Bear's Off-Grid Ways and Adventures. Let's get to it. What have you been doing all day? Well, I've been doing everything over and over again all day. It was one of those days. Oh my God, was it one of those days. You know, not a thing went right the first time. Not a thing went right the second time. The third and fourth times I usually got it taken care of. But oh my word, just one of those things, you know. And it all started this morning when I didn't hear any noises. None. It was silent. And what that mean? That meant that there was no wind. And I was still in bed, and I looked at the clock, and it was 8 o'clock in the morning. And I don't sleep till 8 o'clock in the morning. But it was quiet. And that was the first night I slept all the way through without being awakened by the sound of 30-mile-an-hour winds outside, sounding like they were tearing the place apart. So anyway, I got up, finally had breakfast, caught up on my YouTube videos and comments and answers and things like that, and then decided to get out and do some stuff. Well, one of the things I started with was I got the bird bath down, and I took it into the shop, and I was just going to braze the cracks in it from where it rocked back and forth and cracked it right where it was welded to the post. So I started thinking, well, you know what? I think I'll just braze it. That'll be faster, and I can get the brass to flow better and cover the cracks real quick. And then I'll put a couple of braces on it. Well, I'm not going up there, but it's inside the garage right now. And every time I did, I would clean it all up after I thought I had all the leaks. And I'd pour some water in it, and sure enough, some more water would leak on my hand. So I'd take it to the garage door and point it up in the sky at the light, and I could see all these little tiny hairline cracks running through it. Oh my word. I said, you know what? This is not worth the time. I mean, I want to give the birds a nice bird bath, but I'm not going to spend 4 hours in here trying to fix this bird bath up. So what I do? Well, you'll see it when I put it up, but I put a couple of braces on there using some recovered material that I had here on the homestead, and that keeps it from rocking. And then I got out the that rubberized stuff that guy on TV advertises all the time. I had a quart and a couple of spray cans of it, so I got the quart out and I poured it into the inside, and I put about an 1/8 inch thick layer on the inside. But that's got to dry for about 48 hours before I can do anything with it. And the stuff was black. So I'm going to wait for the stuff to dry completely, and then I'll spray paint it white. Otherwise, I'm going to be cooking birds as they land to take a bath. And we don't want that, right? All right, let's get past that point. We're over here at the grapevine. Look at the grapes popping out of here. Oh my word. Grapes, 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 grapes. Oh my word. I got grapes, 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 grapes. It sounds like there's something skipping. Hey, pull that spark plug wire. Grape. All right, that's it. All right, I found the one that was doing that. Anyway, yeah, we got grapevine running all the way down, halfway down the trellis. So sooner or later, this grapevine is going to end up covering this trellis, this side of it anyway. And every year I'll prune it back. But that'll give me a shade cloth. So when these shade cloths finally deteriorate completely, then I'll have a natural shade over the top of this garden to help cut down on some of the heat that gets down here. Now, the other grapevine that I just got from Tony and Leanne over at doing Redneck Things Off Grid. That's the name of their channel. Doing Redneck Things Off Grid. All right. So they brought me this one a couple of weeks ago. And this is Concord grape. And this is what I've been wanting and wanting and wanting ever since I brought my big Concord grape up in my first year. And I planted it outside in the open. And I left for about 4 or 5 days. When I came back, the desert critters had completely destroyed that grapevine. Pulled it up. I mean, it had a stalk on the bottom that big around. And when I pulled it up out of the ground, all it had was a little ball at the bottom with a couple of little roots about 1 inch long sticking out of it. And when I had left, it looked like this. It had grapes on it. It had leaves on it. So it only took them 4 days to completely kill and destroy that. But look at this. I got grapes here. Grapes, 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 grapes. This little thing is going crazy. I'm going to have me some Concord grapes this year. And my mouth is already watering thinking about it. The raspberry over there, he's struggling a little bit, but he's getting bigger and bigger. I had him tied up to this green post, and now he's sagging down inside the flowers of the broccoli. That's broccoli for you newcomers. The broccoli. And the reason I'm leaving all the flowers on there is I wanted to go to seed and drop some seed. Because these plants are 3 years old, and they're still producing every spring. But I wanted to drop some seeds and put down a few new plants. All right. These are beans and beans. Somebody said you don't know beans about it, but I do. Those are beans. And these are peas. And I can't wait for those things to start producing so I can come in here and take a pee. Oh, God. We needed that. Nice hat trick. All right. Carrots are looking good over there. That peach tree is a young one that was a volunteer sprout of the early Alberta on the corner. I'll show you that in a minute. And that is really doing well. And it's amazing me because while we're here, look at this. This is the graft I did last year of the Bosque pear right down here. I grafted it into the main trunk of the tree, and it's sprouting all over the place up in there. Because the rest of this is just growth. Lots of leaves, no buds, no flowers. So hopefully it's going to think that it's been pollinated and it'll start producing. Down here, I have an ambrosia apple graft, and it's starting to show signs of buds coming out the top of it. So we'll see how that works out. All right. So, got my tomatoes situated. We'll be doing a video on that pretty soon on how to transplant potatoes for a successful production. Now, I've got these over here are my big giant cherry tomato. This one and that one. That one in the center I had to get in the ground because it was damaged early, and I got it in there and it's regrowing. That's going to be a Boxcar Willie, which is a natural tomato. There's no hybrid in it. Those over there are giant Romas. That's all been started by seed. Everything here has been started by seed. Those Romas, I've got 5 of them there, and I don't have room to plant 5. But I'm going to plant the strongest 2, and that should give me plenty of Romas for myself this year. And then next year, hopefully, that whole garden area out there will be all set up, and I'll have a brand new section for tomatoes. And then every year I'll rotate the tomatoes. So for 3 years, you don't want to replant tomatoes in the same place. So I can start them in one trough, take them out of there for the next year and move them to the next trough, take them out of there for that next year, move them to the next trough, and then start back again. So that's my plan, and I'm sticking to it. Oh, look, grapes, 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 grapes. Oh, there goes that skipping that engine again. So anyway, my peach tree. I think I ended up with a case of root rot. And how do you get root rot on a peach tree? Well, peaches do not like wet feet. And peaches are pretty fussy about what lands in the soil below them. So what has been happening is all the leaves that fell off the tree, as you can see them in here, and the branches that I pruned off in the early spring, all were laying in the bottom of this unit around the base of the tree. That's a no-no with peaches. You do not want any of the clippings or leaves or any of that stuff sitting around the base of the tree. You want to clean those up, okay? The other thing is watering. Peaches do not like wet feet. That means that they don't like to have the ground wet all the time. They want you to water them once a week or whatever, depending on the temperatures and the dryness. But once a week is about a normal. And they don't want the ground to be soaking wet. But see, the ground is soaking wet. And why is it soaking wet? Well, I've been watering all my other plants around it. And of course, the water is getting back to the peach tree, because the roots don't just stay in that box. They're running all through this garden. So, what do? Well, you go for the best you can do, because if the tree is dying and you don't try to save it, and you're not successful in saving it, you're going to be pulling it out anyway. So I cut back, pruned back all of the branches on it. Because this is what happened. I had growth on it early in March. Late February, early March, I had growth on it. And then it started dying off. So that meant that most likely it was root rot. So I pruned off everything back to where I noticed that as I cut the branch, I could see green in the cambium layer. That meant that was the rest of that branch was still alive. So as soon as I did that, I used Pruning Sealer, which is it almost looks like a tar, and I got a can of it up there. And I covered all the ends so that disease can't get into them. You see, they're all a little bit black on the ends. So, next thing I did was I mixed 1 part hydrogen peroxide with 2 parts water. And you went, hydrogen peroxide? Why would you do that? Well, water is the designation for water is H2O. That's 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen. And that's what gives you water, H2O. 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen. Hydrogen peroxide is H2O2. What that means is there's 2 parts hydrogen, 2 parts hydrogen. 2 parts hydrogen, 2 parts oxygen. Okay, so you got 2 and 2 there. So you got extra oxygen. Now, because the soaked ground is actually starving my tree from oxygen, I want to add oxygen back to it. So I mixed up that mixture of 1 part hydrogen peroxide with 2 parts water, and I poured it around the tree and on the outside area around the tree, hoping that that extra oxygen in the soil will help this tree start springing back to life. If it doesn't, I'm going to have to pull it out and destroy it. And then I'll have to regroup on here. I'm no longer going to plant, and if I had to do this all over again from the beginning, I'm no longer going to plant trees on the south side of my garden. Why? Because when the sun passes over, the trees on the south side, like that big boy over there, shade the rest of the garden. And I don't want the shade on the garden. I want sunlight. I want my plants to grow. See my beets over there? You know why they're growing so well? Beats me. All right. My 2 corn stalks over here. Actually, I got 4 corn stalks. But the 2 of them are doing really well. We'll see if I can actually manipulate them. And what in the world is that noise? Uh-oh. Yeah. I know what that noise is. I got to get out here and do something. I'm draining water down from the blue barrels to fill this tote, and it's full. Oh boy, look at that. All right. Yep, it's full. That was another one of the things that didn't go right all day today. I'll tell you about that in a little while. But yeah, you notice that I'm filling the middle tank, not the end tank. Well, I'll tell you about that in a few minutes here. This is going to be a long video tonight, but I got a lot to cover. So anyway, let's get back in here and finish off the garden. Look at the cabbage leaves. Oh my God. Growing like the elephant ear plants. So anyway, oh my God. What's going on here? Oh my God, is that a pear? Look at that. No, that's not a pear. That's not a pear. Now that's a pear. That was a single the first time. Oh, there's another pear. Yeah, cool. Look at this, I got an apple. That apple is on this apple graft from Andy's Fuji apple. That's Andy's Fuji apple. And it's already producing an apple right there. It's got a second little small apple there. But since it's such a small branch, I don't know if it'll support both of them. I'm going to leave them both and see how it goes for a while. If I notice that the bigger one is starving from the little one, I'll take it off. The Sharon apple had some flowers on it, but it never set fruit. And that's because it's just above the Fuji apple, and the Fuji apple is stealing all the energy from the Sharon apple. But that's okay. Next year it'll be fine. So if I get a few pears off this tree, and I've got pears set on about 5 or 6 different branches, and even 1 apple, I'm going to be happy this year. And then next year, this thing will really take off, and I'll have a lot more fruit on it. Now, you remember the quins. Only one of the quins set fruit, and there it is, right there. And for those of you who don't know what a quince is, you can look it up. That's how it's spelled. It says quince, but it's pronounced quins. Q-U-I-N-S. All right, my apricot tree jumping to life. My tangerine tree, mandarin tangerine. Set a small fruit there, set one there, set one there. Set one down there. So I got about a half a dozen tangerines set on that little tree, and we'll see how that does. Hopefully it's going to do really well this year. Oh, my cilantro is starting to go to seed. My rutabagas that I got from Brushboom, they just went to seed. I've tried pulling up a few, and there's nothing at the bottom except a small rootstock, very small. So they never made it. All right, so anyway, everything else is doing fine in here. My single apple on there is a little bit bigger than a large walnut now. So I'm going to get at least 1 apple off of there too. All the citrus trees and everything going great. The non-king cherry is jumping to life big time. It's tripled in size since the spring. And my fig tree is doing the same thing. It's about tripled in size. So going to have a good year this year, but a very good year next year. I got loads of peach tree sprouts. all over there in the buckets. Now there is a nursery down the road. I'm thinking I might go down there and ask him if he would like to buy some. Those are early Alberta peach trees, and they sell usually for around 40 bucks for a 1.5 to 2 year old. These are just all brand new sprouts this year, so we'll have to see if he'll be interested in them. Yeah, maybe $5 a piece or so, and then there'll be something that he can set down, and when they grow bigger, he can quadruple and double or quadruple his money. All right, everybody. I'm going to cut this short since we're way over 20 minutes here. I covered one more thing. Is I want to let you know about the leak. The reason I had to waste of time today is I was pumping water into this tank. Now, I know I had a leak in it, and I put this bolt in there and wrapped the bolt in Teflon tape, and it wasn't leaking anymore. So I decided to fix it, and I took it out and I covered it with hot glue, and I let it dry overnight. Well, I got this thing 3/4 full, and I noticed it was leaking underneath down there. Well, that wasn't happy. So then I had to figure out, what am I going to do? So I transferred the pump over, and I pumped everything from here into that one while I was dry siphoning down, or gravity siphoning down from the blue barrels. So I got it all in there, and then this fitting was leaking, and that was really aggravating me. So I got out my blue goo and I fixed it up so it's not leaking anymore. But this fitting now is a waste, because I can't use it anymore because I already glued it in. So I lost that fitting and that fitting. I'll have to replace those. But hey, you got to do what you got to do, right? All right, everybody. That's all I have for today. I'm going to cut this one off and go in and upload it. Have myself a glass of sangria on the rocks and get ready for supper. This is G Bear, thanking you for joining me. Don't forget your thumbs ups down there. Don't forget to subscribe and share. G Bear signing off.